Welcome back and Happy New Year. At any time I have a few projects going on, and I thought I'll take out some odds and ends that I have kicking around and share them with you. One of them is this Tram and Hinner's Mauser bolt action. If I see one of these sporters kicking around, I usually pick them up. Now, in this case, and you've all seen this, it was like this when I bought it. It has provision for a claw-mounted scope, but quite frequently, for whatever reason, the scope gets separated from the rifle. So typically, these beautiful sporters change hands for not much money. Everything's perfect on it. The caliber is 7x64, and the action is excellent. Head spacing's perfect. Bore is just about new, and the company again is Tram, T-R-A-M-M, and Hinners, H-I-N-N-E-R-S, in Hamburg. I think they're still in business, and you can see that the quality of the wood and the shaping of everything is exactly right, and the metallic sights are perfect as well. The ramp front sight and an excellent rear sight. So I mean, out of 10 it's probably a 9 out of 10. Some people might not like the styling of the forend, but that's a personal thing. So I bought this rifle, and I usually do, because another thing that I do is, I should mention the recoil pad. You know, these natural rubber recoil pads, look at this thing, it's completely dried out, but it's not a big deal. Never hesitate to buy a collectible rifle like this. These recoil pads are easy to replace, and most people can do it themselves. There are lots of videos on how to do that. In any event, getting back to the scope, so I bought this. I have a few of these because people don't know what to do with them. This is a magnificent Zeiss DL6 6x42. Perfect condition, and it has the rail. I always thought rail scopes were a fantastic idea because you don't have to fiddle around with rings as we usually do, guessing whether the reticle is horizontal, which some people are good at and some people aren't, and then it depends on the day, and you all know what that's like. Then you get it centered and show it to somebody else and they say it's completely off. The rail solves all that, because when you mount it, it's automatically level and square. So it comes with these feet. Typically, I mean, you can get these for $100 or $200, because truly people don't know what to do with them at the gun shows. They just, I guess, find them in somebody's drawer. You have to work hard to get these claws loose. You can see I've accomplished that. There are usually 2 screws, which you can see, that hold the claw onto the rail, and they can be difficult to get out. Sometimes they even put adhesives, but take your time, and you have to somehow get these loose, unless you're lucky and the rifle you buy exactly matches. Now, if you talk to a gunsmith, they'll say it's impossible. You can't fit a claw-mounted scope to a rifle unless it was originally matched. And I probably agree with you, except I don't agree with you, because I've put many of these on, and no problem fitting them. It just takes time. So this is, like I said, it's a work in progress. I got the front ones in, and that fits nicely. Now I have to get the rear in, and I should have brought out my gear, but the process I use is very similar to the way double shotguns are made. I have a candle, actually. There's a special lamp that you could get that uses kerosene, I think, and I simply make these feet black, and then I press them into the foot of the claw mount. Maybe I have that backwards, the terminology, but in any event, I have to get it to fit in here. And where the metal contacts metal, the black is rubbed away. Then I file that away just to remove the black, and then try again by pressing, and you do it a few times and it fits, and then it clicks and you do no more. Of course, before I do this, I check to make sure that the relationship between the front and the rear rings is correct, so that when I get it to lock up, there's no tension and the scope is level on the rifle. I thought that's worth mentioning to you because you'll see these scopes, and I think they're better than most of the scopes today, 6 power in this case. But it takes a little bit of work to get those screws out, and then really it's just that blacking procedure. So that was the one thing I wanted to show you. Can set this aside. I would normally have that done before filming, but it was the holidays and I didn't get around to it. We'll look at Martini Actions in a second, but the other thing I want to show you is, cabin fever sets in for all of us and we want to shoot something, but you can't get to the range all the time. And the last couple of years I've taken an interest in these small air pistols and rifles. This one is made by Diana, made in the United Kingdom, Diana Model 2. Quite an interesting little pistol, and it shoots not a BB, even though it looks like a BB, it's smaller. So I actually made different projectiles that work, and I'll show you how this thing cocks. So you may know all this already, which is good. So it takes quite a bit of pressure, and I wanted to have something better than this really nice leather case, but that's all I could find for now. So you press down, you get the click, and there you have a cocked air gun. And we're not talking about hypervelocity here. This is just a simple air gun. I think in Germany they called them like Zimmer Stutzen or Stutzen. Like Zimmer means room, I think, if I'm not wrong. Quite nice, and you can see how it works. So boom, that's it. It creates a pump effect, and you have a cool little gun. If you see them, I think I paid $50 for this one, and you lubricate the seal, and you can shoot right across the room. It's actually quite excellent, and you can try a variety of projectiles. Cute little gun. Anyway, I thought I would show that to you. And then the main reason for the video is the Martini Actions, which a lot of people wrote me about. So this is the baby Martini. I took it apart. That's why you'll see the forend is loose. That's just you can take that off with a coin. And I put it next to the large Action so that everybody can see what's what. And these are all, I think, fairly collectible. This has a beautiful aperture sight on the tang. BSA, everybody's trained me, it's Birmingham small arms. And this is that classic Martini Action. This particular one is just incredibly accurate, and you can see it's cocked. There's a cocking indicator here, and it has that very clever action. And I thought what I'll do is explain how these Martinis work, which I usually do by talking about a locking ledge, and then I thought I'll just take apart this little one because then it's easy to see. So you pull out this screw here, and now you can pull out, theoretically, the whole Action from the receiver, just like that. And you can see that the breech block, this is the extractor, is captured, so that when you raise this, that would be in the lock position. The pressure is transferred across this massive bolt to this surface here. Now that's on the 22, and this is captured inside the receiver, which we'll look at in a minute. And because it's striker fired, the lock time is very fast, and as you probably know, lock time is supposed to be excellent for accuracy, and I think it is. Just a marvelous little mechanism, and the fitting to get this to do what I just did, excellent. And here's the recess. You can see how simple the Action is, a lot of people talk about single shot rifles that were used for military purposes. I'll just flip this around and you can see the crossed rifles. I don't know if we can film on this, but it's always nice to see the BSA crossed rifles. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying, a lot of people talk about single shot military rifles, and for sure the Remington rolling block was very popular, very effective, but I've always thought the Martini was the better Action. I like everything about how they work, and the rolling block, even though it's effective, it's a very unusual Action. That isn't to say this one isn't either. Here's the large Action. This is a beautifully put up Army and Navy with express sights, and it even has a ladder on the front, you can see there, and I'll show you the machining on the full-length rib so that you don't get glare from the sun. And I was lucky, this is a 303, so it's very easy to find ammunition, and most of the time, because of cordite, the 303s will be not necessarily shot out. They usually still are reasonably accurate, but in this case somebody didn't shoot it much at all. They did do something nasty here with the receiver. I think that was for an aperture sight, so there's sort of a disfigurement there. Other than that, you can see that the operation is the same as for the small 22, and one of the nicest things is you drop the ammunition on this top of the bolt surface, and it's almost naturally fed into the chamber, unlike the rolling block or the Ruger #1 or any of the single shots where you have to make sure that you seat the round. This one has a slight flange here where metal's been removed, and that pushes the rimmed cartridge typically into the chamber fully. And this one has these brass highlights and kind of a nice brass butt plate. And somebody was busy here on the tang. You can see some screws for a tang sight, which isn't there anymore. And then I guess they wanted another aperture sight, so you know, people like drilling holes. And the original sling swivels, and then some kind of a globe sight. Anyway, a highly effective and accurate rifle. And then this one, I think, was either on the main channel. This is a Jeffrey. You can see the profile of the receiver is slightly different from the Army and Navy. I don't know if I said it was Army and Navy. Army and Navy was a cooperative that supplied the Army and the Navy of the United Kingdom. This was a Jeffrey. It's also a military rifle. I think I showed you that I purchased the chamber insert for this one. I actually took it out into the mountains the other day and was shooting. It's a lot of fun to shoot. Same, everything, the shaping may be different, but you can see the concept, the striker, how the bolt tips, everything is about the same. And I've had Wesley Richards that had still different shaping from this, but I actually like this design. Some have thumb rests here where you put your thumb. None of these do that I can see. Anyway, I did that in a sloppy way. You can actually control that. You can pull the trigger and lower that without slamming shut. And this one has the same ladder. I guess that's for, you know, more volley shooting. And I use 45 Colt in the chamber insert, and it's just a wonderful rifle to shoot with virtually no recoil. And it's not as quiet as you would think, but it's pretty quiet. Anyway, I thought I'd share those things with you. The Diana Model 2, how to fit the claw-mounted rail scope on a rifle. And when that's done, not only will it be worth more, but it'll be effective for a lot more people who like scopes. And you can see that there was even a provision for a much bigger scope, which I also have, but I'm not going to put two scopes. So they would have the lesser magnification on the shorter mount, and then probably for sitting in a tree stand late at night, which I think is lawful in a lot of places. They would have a 10 power or, you know, what have you. So that's about it. I hope that's interesting for you. And I don't think there's anything else to mention. There's a lot of information on all the gun channels, but not necessarily showing all of the different sizes together, which is kind of cool. And as usual, I'll just close off by showing you the large action, and then you can see the small action. And some of the small actions are turned into 22 Hornets, and the Martini Cadet, I picked up 2 in Australia in .300 Cadet, if I remember correctly. And I used to know a gunsmith by the name of Snaps, I think, or Snap, and he made wonderful 45 ACP single shots on this Cadet action. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.